Just got the splash screen up right now, so bear with me.
Okay.
Let's get the shout out. I'm going to send you the YouTube link here to the Discord.
All right.
No, that wasn't it.
Hmm?
Hey, where's my live stream? Ah, there it is. Copy link. And I'll send it your way right now. There you go. Alley-oop. All right. Got that?
Okay.
Got that. All right. And I'm going to try to tag you in at Kev. Yeah, there it is. Cool. Popped right up. As we... Okay. Live now. And you are tagged in that. So there's the tweet. All right. Shall we? Let's begin. All right.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Been waiting for 20 minutes on this. Ridiculous. So, welcome back to the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner, and today I'm joined by my friend from Twitter, Kevin from LA. Hey, what's up, man? And we have some I think fundamental disagreements on where we come from on as far as our general philosophies, as we've had some discussions in Twitter in the past. And I thought it'd be fun today to take a look with him, which neither one of us agree with, these National Justice Party rules, or the platform of the National Justice Party. I will need to bring that up here on the screen here for you, but let me roll the intro for you there, and then we'll get on with our mission for the night.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
Alrighty, and we're back. We had some technical difficulties as normal, and of course it was something new that I've never seen before in my entire life, so that's the reason for the late start, and I apologize for you guys for that, to you guys for that, rather, not for you guys. You guys didn't do anything wrong. That was all me. I don't know what it was.
I was actually pretty sure it was my fault.
I it would be much easier for me if I could blame you, but I'm just not that kind of guy, so I just can't, man. All right, I gotta move you. Now we're good. Okay. Oh, I see what happened. Right. All right, so let me give you an opportunity to tell folks a little bit about yourself, so they kind of know who we're chatting with tonight, just to give a general idea.
All right. Well, I kind of fancy myself just a normal kind of guy, but I am. I'll say. I was thinking about this a little bit, and the fact I say that I'm a leftist, but I grew up on the coasts, and I lived on the East Coast growing up, and I lived on the West Coast after I got out of school and stuff like that. So liberalism isn't like, or it's not really something that I feel like is something that I bought into as much as I just grew up around it, and it just feels normal to me. So I'm kind of interested in hearing like what we can talk about and like two different like points of view on this. It's very interesting national party thing tonight. But yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm a normal guy. I went to school. I'm a writer. I do have lots of interests. I do lots of things. But yeah, one of the things I like to talk about is politics, and I want to get into that.
All right, I guess that's exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, and it's not so much the politics as much as it is the philosophy and the ideas that are underlying the politics in this case. So, the National Justice Party, okay, just for those who don't know, I'm going to give a quick, this is right off their website. The National Justice Party is an organization that will advocate for white civil rights, the working and middle class, and the traditional family against our corrupt and illegitimate institutions. The unelected oligarchy that controls government, media, finance, and industry in the United States has declared white Americans to be second-class citizens. Whites are placed at the bottom of the racial preference scale for employment and education. The mainstream media broadcasts an unending torrent of dialogue. Okay, so if that doesn't give you an idea, I don't know what will. Good Lord. So they go on, they say, we will use our constitutional rights to challenge the consensus view among wealthy elites, politicians, and intellectuals that white people are not a legitimate group and are not deserving of advocacy. We refuse to allow the very real issues affecting our people to be ignored and trivialized. Our aim is political self-determination for white Americans and the restoration of European values upon which this country was founded. So we're going to be getting into the party platform tonight and just taking it kind of point by point and seeing what we can come up with, because there's a lot here that I think strangely enough, I feel like there's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know if you've had a chance to read over them just yet, that you could agree with some of it and disagree with some of it. And I think I could disagree with some of it and agree with some of it too. It's really this weird, I think most views are that way if you really start digging into them, but maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know.
Well, no, I got to be honest with you. I was really surprised, to be honest. Like, I started reading it, and I was, and there were only like 6 points that I really, really was like, no, that doesn't work for me. The rest of it, and I think there's like 25 points on there. A lot of it is just common sense stuff, like, that really kind of speaks to a lot of things that I do believe in, but there are some things that just don't quite work. And that's what I think we're going to hit on. Maybe not in the first one, but at least in the first couple, there's some stuff that doesn't quite work for me, and I'll be interested to see what we have to say about that. All
right, so let's jump on in. This is the National Justice Party platform, posted on November 14th of 2020. And let's start out. Let's just jump in. Number one, the United States of America will be declared an outpost of Western civilization and a state dedicated to its European heritage, population, and their posterity. It will be the policy of the state to set immigration and natal policy that will ensure a permanent European majority. The rights of historic minority populations will be respected. So what comes to mind for you when you first hear that?
Okay, well, I guess, see, that the word, the way that they go about it doesn't make it sound as troubling as I think it really is. Like, the idea that you would start siphoning in only certain groups, especially European groups, as opposed to all other groups, is just not, it doesn't really apply to what America stands for. I mean, at least to me, like the whole melting pot idea, the whole idea that we're all from all different places and we all come together and we accept our differences and we still work together. Right. And this idea that you can only have, like, it seems to me, and I watched one of the speeches by one of the guys, and like he is quite the firebrand, and it's like, but then when he's talking, you definitely hear a lot more of this anger, and it doesn't have quite the same amount of like reasonableness that a lot of these tenets seem to have. And I just thought that was really interesting because he is just like, he makes it, he definitely has more of a feel of I mean, I don't know how else to say it, a white supremacist. And I don't know if you saw any of their speeches or not, but it's really just kind of it's just interesting that they're putting out these ideas that seem kind of reasonable, but the things that they're saying to each other are not so much.
Oh, so you're talking the difference between your public policy and your private thoughts, basically, between what you actually.
But this was a public speech that this guy made. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, he was quite, like I said, he was quite fiery in his speech. But anyway.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So basically, what you were hearing on stage, while it followed along with these principles, it really sounded a lot more of a white supremacy kind of. You're saying it sounded a lot more angry.
That's how it felt to me.
Now, here's the thing. Now, I do kind of understand where they're coming from for the most part, insofar as a lot of the policies that have been passed recently in terms of, a lot of immigration policy and just the lack thereof, for if you will, the lack of proper border control and things like that. And you kind of start to get this, like if you are of the mind that your white people and your race is under attack, and then you start to connect the dots that of all these different policies that are going on, that, the end result you recognize as detrimental to that race that you're proud of, I could understand the anger that would follow. So I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it, is what I'm saying. What my main issue with this first one here is like, first of all, if you have this rule that says Europeans are going to be the majority, and here's why. The why is fine, but then you got to deal with the how. That's where I start to have problems. It's like,
sure.
How do you actually determine, first of all, what constitutes how much of a percentage of European is acceptable? Are we doing like blood tests? Are we doing DNA tests to determine this? How many generations back? It's the same exact bullshit argument that you come into when people talk about giving reparations to all black people that were slaves in the United States.
Yeah, okay.
Like how do you actually, what's the actual logistics of making this work? How do you determine that? That's what really bothers me, because then you start to see, if you got somebody that's really thirsty for power and really, gung ho over this idea, wow, you got basically Hitler and that kind of thing going on, where their ideas are first and foremost my way or the highway. If you don't like it, you can die.
Right.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I know I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah. It's good. Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm not comfortable with that, and I would never want to be in the position of having to make those determinations. Like what kind of person then would be the type of person that would be happy to do that job, or to feel like it was their responsibility to do that job? Like what kind of mindset do you have to have? That's always what I read into these things is what's the how here? How are we going to do this? Like, what laws do we have to pass to make this a reality?
Right.
Are you ready to move on?
Well, and like you said, like who would want to do that, and like who would have the power to make those kinds of decisions, and do we really want somebody to have that kind of power?
All right, I got company here. So I'm going to move on to number 2 here. We demand the extension of the 1964 Civil Rights Act to provide equal protections and privileges to the white majority, or the act must be repealed. So I'm not really sure what that means exactly. Let's see what the 1964 Civil Rights Act is. And I just want to make sure we get our T's dotted and I's crossed. Okay, the National Civil Rights Act of 1964. No, Wikipedia, I'm not giving you money. You lie to me too much. All right, is a landmark civil rights and labor law in the United States that outlaw discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and later sexual orientation and gender identity. It prohibits unequal application of voter registration requirements, racial segregation in schools, and public accommodations and employment discrimination. So what does that mean? That means they want to extend it to provide equal protections and privileges to the white majority.
But it doesn't sound like on the surface like they're excluding whites from that, because it sounds to me like they're saying there's no racial segregation for anybody. I mean, they're not saying, I didn't hear in there anywhere where they mentioned, black people or any other race. They just said you can't discriminate based on race. And shouldn't that include white people as well?
Well, yeah, it should. And it is interesting that the Civil Rights Act has this tendency to kind of forget about white people. I mean, you think about, what's it called? When you have to have a certain amount of black people working for you. I'm brain farting on the phrase here.
Yeah. I'm too for some reason.
I talk about it all the time. But basically, these quotas that you have to reach. like right now it's like, okay, well, if you're white, you're in the majority, but we need to have this certain percentage of the population represented in our workplace, so we're going to go ahead and turn you down for the position because we need more black people in these positions. Affirmative action. Thank you, Lady Della. Affirmative action. Yeah, I think this is a direct response to affirmative action style laws that tend to think that they're doing good things for the minority communities, but actually end up doing more harm to the white community as a byproduct of it. But it doesn't seem to care. I think that's the problem, and that would make me pissed off too.
Yeah, affirmative action is a tough one because you're absolutely right. It does. There are a lot of arguments against it, and a lot of them I do at least understand, if not completely agree with. But
right.
I mean, what else?
How else do you solve it?
In order to give equal footing to everybody.
Yeah, how else do you solve it? And that then becomes the problem again. And I would ask the same thing of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Is like, well, okay, so you want equal treatment, and that's fine. I agree with that. But that has to be completely equal. That means there should be no laws that specifically point out a race for favorability of any sort ever. And it doesn't matter if, maybe black people are falling behind this particular area, or maybe there's not enough women in the STEM fields. We shouldn't have laws, or funding for programs that, that shouldn't be a criteria for determining whether or not somebody should be helped or get that money, or, that's not your solution, I don't think. I think we agree on that. Am I incorrect in saying that?
No, I do agree. I think if it's going to be equal footing, it should be completely equal footing. Yeah.
So I think we're saying we agree with number 2 of the National Justice Party. What does that say about us?
I told you, like, some of these just make sense. I mean, they're not too bad. Keep going.
All right. So we'll go number 3. Number 3, we support the nationalization and strategic breakups of banks, mass media, and monopolistic corporations in order to create public accountability and guarantee that they serve the nation first. Nationalization of banks, media, and corporations. What is that? That sounds like socialism, does it not?
That does sound a lot like socialism, and that's really as much as I disagree with monopolies, and as much as I think that sometimes companies or corporations have too much power and they have too much going for them. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem like it's a good idea. Like, what are you going to end up with if you nationalize Hollywood? Or, for example, they're talking about the media. I mean, then what do? Do you just get stuff that just glorifies the government and that kind of stuff? I mean, you're walking into that communist trap there.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what happens. I guess if you're okay with that, then hell, go for it. But this is one of the first ones that I read that I'm like, oh boy, no, because I'm sitting here going, okay, we do seem to have a problem with monopolistic corporations, and here's the problem with anybody that has a problem with monopoly. They tend to be okay with monopolistic government. Let's just face it. What is the government? It's the monopoly on power and force and taxation within a geographical area.
Sure, yeah.
And if you don't like monopolies, and then you then go to a monopoly and say, hey, I need you to break up this monopoly because I don't like it, and you don't even see the problem with that. Like, hello, what are you doing? Right. That doesn't make sense to me. What does it say? In order to create public accountability, that's what I'm really curious what these means. There's so many. This is the problem with these things, because just like the Bible, you could read this and it could mean so many different things to so many different people. Like, what does creating public accountability mean?
Well, it sounds great. Public accountability. It's not. I mean, making them accountable to the public. But what does that actually mean in practice?
I don't know. Somebody said, "Yo, views on this are through the roof, fam." Okay, I'll take that. Oh, Dan has joined us now. Dan is the one who brought this to my attention in the first place, and I told him we'd probably be talking about this tonight. So,
okay, hi Dan.
Yeah, he does actually agree with. I assume he sent it for discussion because he does agree with all of them. I'm not sure. I haven't actually talked to him, but I think he's going to be on the live call tonight, or the member only group call. If you guys want to join that, Zoom call rather. It's just from group members only. You can click the link in the description below to either join our Discord or our Telegram group, and that's where I send the link right after the show's over. So if you want to check that out, we'd be glad to have anybody along to discuss these ideas. So he says, Dan says, yeah, discrimination is not the same as promotion. If black people simply can't get a job, we shouldn't weaken our businesses and country by forcing them into it and forcing worthy white people out. Yeah. We discussed that. That's what I think we all came to the. I think we all came to the general conclusion that we if it's going to be equal, it needs to be, none of the laws should be colored of any sort. I'm going to go to number 4 so we can have a chance to get through a lot of these. So number 4, we support a 2% ceiling on Jewish employment in vital institutions so that they better represent the ethnic and regional population balance of the country. This one was interesting. This one was interesting to me because I put on my Lefty cap for a minute and I'm like, you know what? According to, God dang it. I just lost the phrase again. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. I just had it. We just talked about it.
Affirmative action?
Affirmative action. Good Lord, I'm not hanging on to that phrase tonight at all.
Okay.
So according to the precepts of affirmative action, then yes, this would be perfectly in alignment with that. If you're going to have, people people that are employed in companies actually represent the percentage of their populational representation, in those companies. I hope I'm making sense. It doesn't feel like it. But then yes, that's how we would have to do it. Like, okay, so Jews are 2% of the population, so large companies are not to have any more than 2% of Jewish people working in them. I don't agree with it, but from an affirmative action perspective, I definitely would, if that's what I believed.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this one's really specific. Some of the other ones are kind of vague in their speech, but this one's really gets specifically against like a particular group, and I'm not exactly sure what it is that what their issue is. I mean, I guess I understand what their issue is from a point of view of like from where they would be looking at it, the way they would be looking at it, but. It just seems like they're really specifically targeting a group because they don't like that group.
Well, no, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I haven't got the sense from the people that follow these ideas that they hate Jews. I don't think that's the case. I think what it is they tend to. It seems to them that everywhere they look, when they see people in positions of power, they're either Jewish or they're related to Jews. There's always this 1 or 2 degrees of separation from a Jew that you can find, which I don't think, I don't know that that's necessarily is an important factor in anything that I particularly talk about or study, but some people get really hyper-focused on this so that whenever some big thing happens, some major move is made or a new law is made, they go back and they look at, okay, who is involved? Who's the families of all those involved? Oh, look, we have a Jew. Of course, this is Jews in charge again. And I think you could do that with just about anybody. If you were just saying blacks were in charge, if you had that same philosophy or what have you, that you could find somebody in charge with a black relative and then make the conclusion that, well, it seems like black people are pulling the strings. That's just maybe I could be completely wrong. I haven't gone in and studied this and actually just determined whether or not Jews run everything, but that's where that particular rule or whatever is coming from.
Okay, I mean, I get it. It still just sounds a little hinky to me because it just sounds to me like they're just targeting a group. Like, if what you're saying is true, and you could like make this about anybody, then why make it about this particular group? It just seems I don't know. Maybe it could be that I'm overly sensitive to it because that's one of the things that you're sort of like taught in liberal circles, is that, there is a lot of anti-Semitism out there. There are going to be people who are going to blame the Jews for everything or think they run everything. Yep. And, you kind of can't think that way. Or not that you're not allowed to, but it's not the way that it really is. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I don't know how do you combat that is what I'm saying. I don't know. And again, if that's the case, how do you then implement that to make sure that, Jews only run? See, because we as people in general, we have a really good way of circumventing laws that we disagree with. Okay.
Right.
So whenever a law is made, there's a certain segment of the population that the first thing they do is figure out the loopholes. How do we get around this? How do we do something just to skirt the outside so we're still within legality, but we're still in charge. You know what I'm saying? And if what we're saying is true here, if Jews are like so smart that they can kind of get into positions of power where they can rule everything, what makes you think any law that you pass is going to keep that from happening? What makes you think they're going to be not going to be able to circumvent that in some way through some shell company or through some other means or some other law that you didn't even think they could use? You get it? I mean, like this doesn't it doesn't stand the test of actually trying to enforce it to me.
Right. This one makes me uncomfortable. I don't know how else.
Yeah. You seem really uncomfortable about even discussing it, and that's okay.
It's just, I apologize. I'm trying to keep an open mind here.
No. So I mean, I'm not trying to convince you that it's right or not. I'm just trying to kind of offer some perspective from their perspective. Sure. I'm putting on their shoes for a minute and trying to kind of see where it's coming from or why it might make sense in their eyes. It doesn't make sense. I think you and I both, neither one agree with that particular one. Number 5, we support the sacred right of free speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of association. Wait, association, like if I'm a company that wants to associate with a bunch of Jews to run my company, then sorry. Anyway, political views will not be censored by the state or any large private concerns. It will be illegal for any employer to retaliate against workers for political activism and expression outside the workplace. Now, I like the second part of that, like a lot, because I've seen, I don't know if you've been aware of this or have you seen this, where it seems like if you have the wrong viewpoints, if you have the viewpoints that go against the mainstream media or you have viewpoints that go against the big tech companies, they'll shut you down, they'll shadow ban you, they'll censor your content, they won't let you speak, they'll keep blocking you all the time, and then they'll be like, oh, sorry, it was our bad, you didn't actually break any rules here. Have you experienced any of that or seen any of that from maybe your conservative friends or?
Well,
I assume you have conservative friends.
Yeah, I got some. Yeah, I mean, I've always been willing to listen, and I've always been willing to, like, when I say stuff, I try to put it in ways that people can understand more than just try to say stuff because I'm trying to cause an argument or something like that. And it's just, I don't really run into that many issues personally because it's like, it's either, I come from the whole, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, really. But it's more like, if you can't say anything intelligent, don't say anything at all. So I try to keep it on the intellectual level. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. You're looking a little perplexed. No,
I don't think so. I guess what I'm saying is from this particular one here, I see where it's coming from insofar as it shouldn't be. No political view should be censored. It says by the state or any large private corporations, which political views are not censored by the state as it is according to our First Amendment. But it seems like here lately, big tech corporations like Facebook, for example, are in fact censoring political views. But
I'm generally on the right side of whatever they're selling. I mean, I don't really get into that much trouble because I'm pretty much with everybody.
So here's the thing. Like, we even had there was a video we did that was debunking something that the Trump supporters were claiming about watermarks on ballots. And because we were talking about Trump and because I named my videos, or I don't even know what the reason was specifically, we ended up getting our video removed as a result of that. And we appealed and they brought it back. But, I've been kicked off 2 or 3 times. My partner, Anthony, he's been kicked off multiple times for, saying things that's, people start reporting it and stuff and calling it bullying. And he's a sweetheart. He's not a bullier. He's just not. I would never in 1,000 years use the adjective bully to describe Anthony. It's just not true. But I keep running into these issues and it seems to be happening a lot on the right. Again, I know you probably haven't experienced as much of it as I have. And I've seen it with a lot of my friends and a lot of people I follow even where they have a really hard time staying on these platforms and they end up going off in their own little silos as a result. And that's not a good thing. But I definitely agree with the idea that private companies shouldn't be able to censor you, but I'm not really sure how you go about it. I don't have all the answers.
I'm pretty much for this one too. Like this one, I thought was pretty reasonable. I like the free speech thing, the whole not when it was saying not being censored by companies, I was thinking more along the lines of having like a different opinion at work or something and getting fired or getting in trouble for something like that. But I see what you're saying too.
Yeah, it addresses that. It addresses that as the later part of that. It said it will be illegal for any employer to retaliate against workers for political activism.
Right.
So yes. Yeah, and I honestly agree with that. I think that's a terrible thing for you to be able to have to worry about losing your job because you have the wrong political opinions. Look, if I'm at work and I'm doing my job and I'm doing well and I don't have any kind of corrective action going on, like, dude, let me do my job. Don't sit there and try to fire me because I said something bad and it gave you guys bad press. Stand up, have some balls, for fuck's sake. But having the state in charge of that, however, or making it some kind of law, I don't know about that. I would much rather have individual companies decide that for themselves if it was me. And as an employee, I'd much rather work for somebody that I knew wasn't going to fire me, and they're not just doing it because the law says they can. Because what's going to happen? Again, we're great about circumventing laws. If I'm a conservative boss, and I have this liberal employee that's out doing political activism and even bringing me bad press, but I've got this law over here that says I can't fire him, do you think I'm going to be open about why I'm firing you? No. I'm going to go and find some other arbitrary thing that is completely like bullshit and make it up and say, oh, well, you're fired because, fucking you took too many steps to the bathroom or some bullshit that you can't get in trouble for, It's not.
Well, a lot of us work in at-will states where you can get fired for nothing. They can just decide to let you go for no reason at all. They don't even need to make up something. So, yeah, that's true.
Right. Okay, I'm grabbing a couple comments here. Where to say? Dan says the fact that you're uncomfortable means you have watched the requisite number of Holocaust films per annum.
If that's what it is, yeah, something about it. Yeah, it could be.
You've sufficiently been brainwashed, apparently. All right. The best cure for nepotism and increasing power is to get in their industry and do what they do better than them. That's true. All right. Okay. Lady Della from YouTube says if a company can deny service to whom they choose, for example, baking a gay wedding cake, why would it make any sense for them to censor the? Why would it make sense to then censor them when they restrict speech while at work? I'm not sure I followed the train of thought there. I got lost.
We're going to get to that one too, right? Isn't that in the next one or something?
Okay, so let's go to number 6. We support private property rights. We support private property rights, including a program to make home ownership more accessible to stably employed family men. Small businesses and communities will be granted the right to refuse service or home ownership to anyone for any reason they see fit. Okay, now I think this is one where we may disagree on, but I'd like to see why, because I think it's going to be different. Like, I don't know. I really don't know where this is going to go. So what do you think? What are your thoughts?
It started out okay. I like the idea. I like the idea of like offering incentives for people who are stable family people. I mean, whatever. I mean, if that's part of what they're doing. I mean, I'm not against that. I mean, it's not like I would get it. I don't have a stable family situation, but I mean, somebody would get it, and maybe they deserve it. That's fine. But then they kind of lose me on the whole thing where you can go ahead and refuse to serve somebody or refuse to allow housing for a person based on whatever precept you want.
Yeah. Basically,
then that starts getting like. So okay, go ahead.
Now, interestingly enough, I disagree with you on both counts. My problem is with the first part, and I am in full support of the second part. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you why. The first part, about supporting property rights, including a program to make homeownership more accessible to stably employed family men. Okay, that's a problem for me. I'm like, why are we singling out men specifically? Why can't it be
That's
women?
very true. Yeah, that is true.
Why can't a stably employed family woman? It should be up to the man and the woman. Who, if the woman wants to go out and work, let her fucking work. I don't care. Some dads want to stay home, and that's okay. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I feel like it's more in alignment with traditional family values for the mom to stay at home with the kids. But that's my own personal opinion. To make a law about it saying that only the men, I don't know. I'm not on board with that. I cannot get on board with that.
I think I kind of tuned out the men part of that and just heard the families part of that,
right.
And thought they were like families of
yeah, that's fair enough. But I think even what you were saying I disagree with about having some kind of special programs for stably employed whoever. I just don't. I don't think the government should be in the business of incentivizing people to do stuff, because we already do that, and it's a fucking failure. Right now, we incentivize people to give birth to babies. We incentivize people to not work through the welfare state. You actually get more money the less you work. And and just to put some concreteness to this, I've been in a position where I was using food stamps for my family. My boss wanted to offer me a $1 raise from $12 to $13 an hour. Mm-hmm. I was going to take the raise, but I had to turn him down. And here's why: because my welfare benefits, my food stamp benefits, would have decreased at such a rate that I would have actually been poorer for taking the $13 raise. And matter of fact, if I was doing the math correctly, he would have had to give me a raise all the way from $12 to $16 an hour just for me to break even. That's bullshit. That's incentivizing people to not work as hard as they should. And I don't think we should incentivize anything, regardless of whether they're doing well or not doing well. I'm just not a big fan of. It goes back to the taxation is theft argument for me. I don't care what the proceeds of those funds are. I don't care what the end result is, or what, I don't care. Like, if you're feeding, starving children in an orphanage with that money, it's still wrong to steal it from people in the first place. Let people make that decision on their own,
Right. Well, that
okay. I know there was a lot there. I know.
Yeah.
That just goes back to my fundamental. That just goes back to my fundamental core beliefs. There is all I was saying.
Yeah, no. I can see that. I definitely think that what we should do is, we can't force them, but companies should pay better. That's what it boils down to. They should give a living wage to somebody based on what a living wage is in this country, and not rely on, people in Walmart who get food stamps to cover because Walmart doesn't want to pay them.
Yeah.
that's just bullshit.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I disagree, but I do understand where you're coming from on it. But I don't want to get. I personally want to go down this road, but I also don't want to lose the thread. So, but I do get where you're coming from on that. And the second part of that is, like I said, the part where I'm fully on board and you're not so much on board. And just to refresh, that was it will be illegal. Number 6. Small businesses and communities will be granted the right to refuse service or home ownership to anyone for any reason they see fit. And the reason I'm fully on board with this is because if I'm let's say I'm a racist cook at a restaurant, right? And I refuse to serve black people. If I'm a black person, I kind of want to know that about the guy I'm getting ready to try to buy food from. I kind of want to know that. And that very act and that decision is going to bring him a specific customer base. But it's also going to exclude quite a large customer base as well. There's a lot of people that will not shop there. They will boycott it. They will not go there because of his racist views. And I think through society is how we solve these racist issues, not through government forcing people to serve people that they wouldn't otherwise serve.
All right, I'm with you. Okay. I think the idea that you wouldn't want to serve somebody based on anything is wrong intrinsically as a human being. But do I think that the government should mandate? It's like you said. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe if we gave it a shot, those people would lose so much business based on what other people will think of that it would make it so that, a business that would let anybody in would take its place.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'll buy that.
If I've got two restaurants and one is ran by a racist and one's ran by a not racist, and with the current laws, I could go to either one of those restaurants and never know the difference. But if I knew the difference, you know how much bigger that company number two would be? Like they'd be doing really well.
I do have a problem with the homeowner thing though, because I feel like there are a lot of people out there who might have a "there goes the neighborhood" attitude.
Oh, right? Yeah. Well, okay. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. I mean, that's basically the thrust of it, is that they might have homeowners associations and all this stuff where people are like, well, we don't want that kind of person moving into our nice little suburban neighborhood, And I mean, maybe that should be their right, but that just seems really, really shitty. People should be able to live wherever they want.
It does, and I agree. And again, I would kind of want to know if I'm getting ready to move into a neighborhood where nobody's going to like me. I mean, that's going to do so much better for my kids if I'm moving to a neighborhood where I know I'm going to be welcome. Yeah, it is shitty. I agree, and that's shitty people. I wouldn't want to go live with. I would not personally go live in that neighborhood because I don't want to be around people with that mindset. I just don't. But I would kind of want to know, are you a racist asshole that doesn't want black people in your neighborhood? I want to know these things. And that's fine. Be open about it. Absolutely. That's fine. That way I know it's very clear who I'm not supposed to talk to or even interact with.
Right.
I did want to point out the 2008 financial crisis was in large majority because the fact that the banks were being forced to give loans to people that could not otherwise afford them. And the banks were not allowed to say, they were not allowed to discriminate. And because it ended up being where the majority of the people that weren't able to qualify for these happened to be black, it made it look like a systemic black issue, a racist issue, where really it was just like, okay, black people don't tend to have as good a credit for various reasons. I don't want to get into all the details about why or whatnot, but I'm saying is they tend to have bad credit. It's become a trope and a stereotype. There's a reason for it. I'm not saying I agree with it or like it, but that's just the case. And if I'm a bank and I look and part of my requirements is that you have to have certain X amount of credit score or what have you, or we can't give you a house. We can't give you a loan. It's a bad business practice on our part to do that. It's putting us at too much risk. Well, as a result, we end up having so many people default on their loans that we end up in this financial crisis that ends up bringing down the entire country because we wanted to try to please black people and make everything equal for the wrong reasons.
A lot of people were very excited because they could finally afford, quote unquote, to own a house for the first time, and yet they probably weren't really in a position to do that.
Yeah, and that to me is bullshit. That's manipulative. Right. It's evil. It's wrong. It's lying to people. But at the same time, I understand where these policies come from. And it comes from a place of a good heart, and I get it, and I agree with those good-hearted people in that. But the policies is always a problem. The how is always a problem. How people think they are going to solve these problems. I'll tell you what. Do you want to go for a couple more, and then maybe
let's just do a couple more. I'm cool.
Maybe we'll save the rest of them for going into the private Discord chat or private Zoom chat, and we can just discuss them with the community there. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds cool too. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a couple more. What was that? Number 6. All right, let's go to number 7. We stand firm in the defense of the right of law-abiding citizens to own firearms. Okay, so basically we agree with the Second Amendment. You cool with that one?
That's fine. You know what? People got to own firearms. I think that's okay.
Whatever. All right. Well,
as long as they're responsible with it, that's cool.
Hey, I agree. Let's check that one off. Okay, so number 8. So we agree with number 7 of the National Justice Party. What does that say about us? We must be
wholeheartedly agree. Oh my God!
Like if we take like the percentage of these we agree with and like figure that's how much percentage white supremacists we are, then maybe we are bad people. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like with most of them, you're kind of like they start off good, and you're kind of like, okay, all right, man, this doesn't sound too bad. And then suddenly they take a weird left turn, and I'm like, okay, no. You had me up to this point.
You mean a weird right turn, right?
Right. Well, whatever. Yeah, I just meant.
I know what you meant. You used the common phrase, and I'm just being an asshole. All right. So
that's cool.
Number 8. We demand the FBI, which acts as nothing more than a political secret police force for elite interests, be abolished and replaced with a legitimate federal law enforcement agency.
I mean, this one I don't really know enough whether to agree with or not. Like, it's just, I mean, I guess the FBI does some good stuff, but I mean, if that's how they feel, like, yeah, let's get another agency in there, do something better. But I don't know what that agency would be.
I'm just like, okay, we already had one, legitimate federal law enforcement agency whose task was to do exactly what the FBI is. So let's abolish that one and let's do it again because it worked so splendidly the first time.
All right, so you obviously know a little more about this. Explain what you mean.
Oh, in terms of the secret political secret police force for the elite interests, as far as we're talking about, as far as I guess the first example that comes to mind is the whole Russian hoax that happened, where apparently Donald Trump was working with the Russians and everything else, and we had to hear about this shit for 4 years. They ended up coming up completely inconclusive, and ended up finding out, in fact, that the FBI was involved in this very intimately in terms of trying to get Donald Trump in trouble and get his team and his administration in trouble. I would recommend, if you seem confused or just are you just taking it in?
Oh, no. I was there. I remember.
Okay, I didn't know if I don't know which side of that. Yeah, I didn't know which side of that particular thing you fell on, but I spent forever listening to Rachel Maddow and listening to other voices, various sides of this debate. And after a while, I'm like, holy shit! Like, if you actually start looking at the evidence, you're like, wow, this is not good. And it seems like Rachel Maddow was literally just trying to make shit up just to scare people for the last 2 years and make it sound official. Okay. And that's just the side I fell on. I have a tendency to fall on one side or the other eventually as I hear enough facts. And it just seems like, as far as the points that were made in support of Donald Trump in terms of the Russian collusion scam, what have you, it just seemed like they had their ducks in a row and they knew exactly what they could go back and point to exact documentation, people, places, dates, timelines, everything, like perfectly. I was like, oh shit, okay. So and it, I don't know, but that might be one example where the FBI is in bed with the political elites.
Okay.
Right. Versus
that's a decent example. I'm not going to argue with you because I don't really know enough to like. I'm not a Trump fan. Okay. But that whole thing that happened just seemed like a big waste of time for everybody, and it did not seem like there was enough going on that they really should have spent so much time and effort doing it. But, maybe somebody did feel that way, and, maybe there was a reason for it. But, in the end, it was just kind of like, whoop, it all came to this big, important head, and then all of a sudden nothing happened.
Yep, pretty much, because they ran out at the end of the road, and then the media is not going to cover the other side of the story and go, oh, sorry, we fucked up, because that looks bad on them. They're just not. They may print a retraction on page 9 in the middle, a little tiny bottom corner of their newspaper, but you're not going to see them come out in front and go, oh, well, guess what? For the last 4 years, we've been completely lying to you, and we've made a mistake. Even just admitting fault of any sort would be great, but I'm pretty sure that it's anyway. I disagree with number 8 though, as far as getting rid of it to replace it with another one. That's just stupid.
Oh, okay.
It's short-sighted. That's just stupid. It's short-sighted. Okay. All right. So I'll tell you what, we'll start with number 9 on the Zoom call. If you guys want to join us for that, that'll be here after the show. I'm going to bullshit with Kevin here just in general for a second, and then I will go in and we'll end the show and send the links out from there. How's that sound? That was funny. I liked it. It was fun. That was a fun, awkward pause.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Because I wasn't even talking to you, but then I was like, oh, wait, who the fuck am I expecting to answer me?
I was waiting for like a voice to come from somewhere. It just didn't happen, but that's okay,
All right, so number 9 is we demand an end to political contributions and corporate lobbying. Elections must be publicly financed. So get your thinking cap on for that, and we'll see you guys shortly.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, this will be good.
Zoom call. So listen, I'm just. We've had political discussions online, and I really enjoy interacting with you because you're not an asshole. You're not in the business of calling people names and putting people down. As far as you're in my interactions,
Yeah, I every once in a while I'll get down to it, but not in general. Not with somebody who's actually got something to say.
Yeah. I just appreciate those kind of conversations, and I really feel like this was a fun exercise to look at a third political party, if you will, that neither one of us necessarily agree with, and just to see, you know, what we can bring, what we can pull out of it. And I think this was just a fun thought exercise, and I encourage people to take some time and look at some other political ideologies that you disagree with, even vehemently disagree with, and just see. You know, I'm not saying you need to agree with these people, but, you know, have some understanding about where they're coming from. There might be a reason why they're pissed off. You know, there might be and it might be a completely bullshit reason that you can then have some compassion and try to talk them out of, you know. But this whole bullshit about keeping everybody separate and dividing everybody and just having these like perfectly divisioned silos, you know, that's never going to work for anybody, man. What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think that, you know, one of the things that I do whenever I talk to somebody who I really don't agree with, I say, hey, you and me, let's be besties. Let's do this all the time. Let's keep this conversation going and see what we can hash out as two different people with ideas, you know. And like, you know, it doesn't work. they don't tend to take me up on it. But, you know, I try because I'm really interested. I mean, I don't go on Twitter to read this people in an echo chamber saying exactly what I think all the time, because what's the point of that? I go on there to see what other people have to say, and if I disagree, I enjoy a lively, spirited debate, you know. But I mean, a lot of times I'm just kind of there just to be like, wow, that person thinks this. That's really interesting, and then maybe it sends me off to go learn more about it or something. And that's just, you know, you're not going to get that if all you do is you go to your own little site somewhere, and everybody is just all saying the same thing. I mean, that's just yeah. That's,
I could not agree with you more on that, Kevin. That was well said. Well said. I'm going to go ahead and end on that then, unless you had anything else.
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was
a
lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. It was a lot of fun. I'd like to do it again sometime. So you want to tell people
where I am?
You want? I've got your link in the description below if anybody wants to follow Kevin on Twitter. And he's also a member of our Discord chat group as of recently, so that ought to be pretty fun. So, did you say you had a book? Did I understand you?
I've written a couple of books, but my book that I wrote is currently on Amazon. It's by Kevin Norris, Norris. It's called The Chronicles of AH, The +1 Infection. And it's a little sci-fi book about the worst guy in the universe. So it's fun. So you might want to check it out.
Okay, cool. Well,
my plug.
Hey,
I got to do a plug.
Hey, that's all good, man. it's how it's done. I mean, you did me a big favor coming here and talking to me, so I wasn't sitting here talking to myself this Friday. The least I could do is let you plug your book, you know.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Well, y'all been watching the Unframe of Mind show where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom, and this one definitely has not been any different. So if you guys want to see more, be sure to subscribe, tell your friends. The biggest thing you can do to help us out is share this episode. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday. And if you're still here in the chats and you want to hang out with us here in just a minute in the Zoom call, we look forward to seeing you there too. All right, y'all. Have a good night.